Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting in order. First have the prayer, then the pledge. Heavenly Father, we come to you just to ask for guidance tonight. And we also ask for healing. There's several people ill in our village. Pray for the healing power on them. Again, we ask for wisdom. Lots of decisions need to be made. Use us any way you can. As I pray, amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Marth.
Here.
Beverly.
Here.
Ridgway.
Present.
Martin.
Here.
Klepper.
Here.
Okay, you have for your approval the minutes, regular council meeting back on September 20th. Thank Eric for running the meeting while I was going. Any additions or corrections?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second. I have one thing.
Okay.
It's not that big a deal, but on the back of the first page, government funds is set by the Francis County Budget Commission, seconded by, it doesn't say who seconded.
Oh, it's Charlie. I had to look it up.
Klepper did it, and then Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good catch. Any other corrections, additions? Let's see, did I call for roll call? Okay.
Klepper.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ridgway.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Marth.
Abstain. Okay, I need your approval on a special council on September 22nd meeting. Any additions or corrections on that
I make a motion to approve.
one? Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Barth.
Yes.
Klepper.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Ridgway.
Yes.
Okay, have before you approval of the bills.
I have a question. I'm not complaining about the cost, I'm curious what it's for. Duluth Soil Test, Nestor Ag LLC.
That came in from Bruce Gilbert.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
Just another question. We had Premier Bank card member service that included bollard covers, and then we also bought bollard covers from Lisa Laker Design. That's not a duplicate, is it?
No. The original place I got them from, they only had one in stock. And he actually needed two of them, so Brad Laker is able to get a second one.
And then the refrigerator for commodities to our village admin, was that just a personal expense that was reimbursed, or how was it?
Yes, I had purchased a used refrigerator for out here for the commodities. As a reimbursement.
Can I ask a question on that? Why are we moving commodities down to this front garage?
So they're out of the way down at the street garage down there. There's issues where at times people are parked in front of the overhead door. You guys are trying to get trucks out in the morning. And when the commodities do come in, once they're all bagged and ready to go, they sit in an office for a week. And it takes up a bunch of floor space. Down here, though, they can have the run of the roofs. They can park wherever they need to park and come get their stuff and not be in the way of anybody.
But now will we have to heat and AC this building?
I mean, it's already heated. AC, I'm not concerned about. I mean, it's out of the garage down there. It's not AC.
Okay.
Bailey's office is.
How long does it usually take when they start coming in for that day, that morning when they pick up? Usually an hour?
I think Letitia lets them in at 7:30 and she goes to like noon.
They have a couple hour.
So, which I kind of would like to maybe change the hours, not this month, but for next month, maybe do more like a 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Any specific reason, just to?
If right now I plan on having them use that side door It's kind of behind Powell's Pizza. And if they want to start using these glass doors where it's got the handicap buttons on it, I'd like to bring them in at 8 o'clock because those doors don't get unlocked until 8 o'clock. I mean, she can still go to noon, but mainly it's going to be the 8 o'clock if we're going to start using these front doors.
Okay, any other questions on the bills to approve? Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Beverly, Martin,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Hooker.
Yes.
Okay, next one, it's not on the agenda, but Scott was asked to bring a person from Ambulance Billing Network, and he's here right now. I'm going to have him, his name is Jim Prestos? Prestos, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, how are you folks? Good to see you. Thank you, Chief Mayor, for inviting me tonight. So I am from Ambulance Billing Network. We are obviously a billing company for private ambulance as well as fire and emergency EMS. We started in 2015 as a women-owned, women-run business with 2 employees. We currently employ 14 people now. We are strictly ground ambulance billers. We do not bill for hospitals, we don't bill for doctors. We bill for private and fire EMS. We bill for agencies doing 40,000 runs a year. We bill for agencies doing 500 runs a year. We have a depth of knowledge that's pretty deep. Our leadership staff has combined 35 years of experience in the ambulance billing industry. And I know you folks are billing for yourselves. One of the difficulties of billing for yourselves is maintaining that consistency of billing and leveling out your revenue cycle. And that's really what we're here for. Basically, we start with the efficiencies of billing. So what we do is we set up a system where we're going to import your PCRs, your patient care reports. We're either going to go out to ERS and get them, or as the transition to ESO happens naturally because ESO purchased the ERS, we will import those directly into our system. We will bill from our system. We're going to review your patient care reports within 72 hours of receipt. That review goes to patient demographics, patient insurance, and the completeness of that patient. We're then going to go out and we're going to find the insurance that's required, whether the patient has insurance, whether they don't have insurance, whether they're covered. Many billing companies kind of take the wrong approach. It's about bill, bill, bill. So you get it in, you see an insurance, you bill it. We don't do that. We bring it in, we look at it, we verify the insurance, verify coverage before we bill. The reason for that is, number one, you get paid faster if we bill the right person the first time. Number two, with the requirements now that especially all of our coders are certified coders through the NAAC, the National, I always forget this, the National Academy of Ambulance Compliance. That's the industry standard basically for coding compliance. That's just the start of our process. We also have a 6-month process of training that every coder goes through before they're coding on their own. Until that time, they can code, but every claim is reviewed by another coder who's already signed off and is coding on their own. So you know if someone is coding for us, not only are they certified, but they're well trained. Our Director of Revenue has over 20 years experience herself. She's designed the training program, and it's excellent. That goes from patient demographics to insurance to coding, and then the claim goes out the door. So getting the claim out the door quickly is important. but getting it out completely is more important. What we do is we also bill electronically. So we have a clearinghouse where all of our claims go out electronically. We don't mail. Traditionally, when we have had to mail certain vendors, before they went electronic, 40% of our claims went unopened. Whether they got lost in the mail, I don't believe the mail service is that bad, or whether they just never made it to anybody's desk at the other end. So we bill electronically. That claim is going to get to the insurance company. It's going to be verified electronically that they got it, and then it's going to be verified electronically that they accepted it. All of that happens within about 48 hours. So we review our workflows to make sure that any claim that goes to the insurance, if it's rejected by the insurance, we come back, we work that rejection up front. Why did they reject it? Was something missing? Was something not in the right box, electronic box? So all the claims go out, they go out efficiently, they go quickly, and they're verified that they're accepted. The claim goes through the insurance process, comes back to us. It's either paid or it's denied for some reason. There's a million reasons why an insurance company might deny a claim. What we do is we don't just set those aside and say, okay, we billed everything out as fast as we could. What came back is denied, write it off, bill the patients. We don't do that. We actually go through, we have a group of trained account responsibility people who are specifically trained to work those denials and do appeals. That process can take 60 to 45 or 45 to 60 days, and we follow up every claim. We don't want to leave claims on the table. We don't want to bill patients when we don't have to bill patients. If the patient gets a bill, it should be for their co-pays, their deductibles, the things that they're responsible for, not for things that the insurance company just didn't want to pay for. So we're going to bill out quickly, we're going to follow up every single claim, and we're going to not leave claims on the table. That's the hard part about doing your billing yourself in-house. With changeover in personnel, keeping those people trained, keeping them up to date on the latest changes. We have a lot of changes in Medicare coming up this next year. So there's things that we're staying on top of all the time that we can help level out that billing process for you, get you off the revenue roller coaster, level out your revenue, and basically keep you from having to bill your payments. So we're going to then follow up with the payments. We're going to look at your payments. We're going to post those payments in our system. We're going to reconcile those payments. So we're going to reconcile what was deposited in your accounts. We're going to reconcile that to what we posted. It's going to balance, and we're going to give you those monthly reports. We can customize our monthly reports to whatever needs you have. Generally speaking, we're going to tell you how much we billed, how much was paid, how much we posted, and then we're going to give you a denial rate and what we're doing on the appeal process. So if you want other information, if you need other information, we'll customize that for your needs. And that's generally a monthly report. So generally speaking, that's kind of the description of what we do, who we are, and I think that's a lot. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Have you looked at our billing, what they've done here?
I have not. No, I haven't gotten the chance to. I met the chief at the FDIC show in Indianapolis, and then I was asked to come to speak to you tonight.
And
I would be happy to, though.
I'd be interested what you would come across to what we have, that needs fixed, or,
Sure.
that you can.
Sure. I'd be happy to come up and spend a few hours seeing what you're doing and walking through the system and seeing what you got.
What do you charge percentage?
Percentage-wise for a department of your size is typically about 8%.
How many year contract could you stop anytime?
Generally speaking, we have a 3-year contract.
3 year?
Yes, and of course, there are, things built into the contract. If we're not performing up to your standards, then obviously there is an option to decline the service.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Council, but I think now if we have a run and they use services, we don't charge, right?
It's $110, I think.
How much?
110.
110. So is that normal?
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, that's typical, that's fairly typical. Between 100 and 125 is very typical for,
How many runs do we average a week? Ballpark. Just the spot, Scott.
Probably-
5, 10, 8?
Probably 6 to 8.
6 to 8 a week.
Um,
Billable runs.
Yeah.
Do you have any other villages around here that you guys?
so probably the closest is the Troy Fire Department in Miami County.
Oh, okay.
And I'd be happy to give you their contact information.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, no, sorry, Mayor, sorry.
Go.
I was thinking, somebody our size, and I know we went out and bought software to help with our billing cycle, you know. Have we outsourced billing before? I can't
I
remember.
don't think so.
We never have. We've always kind of done it
Sure
with
about
him.
that? I thought we did once.
I did too. I thought we tried years ago, maybe.
Dorothy was doing it, then I did it,
Well,
and then,
This was before you came back to town, that we were doing that.
Scott, does most departments sub it out
Yes.
around the county? I'm talking
Yes.
about not everybody or
A
just?
lot of them use Medicon, I believe.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim?
More of a question for the chief. I mean, do you believe that I mean, I've never heard the numbers on, the 90 days with the Medicare Advantage plans and all of that stuff. Like, are we missing out on dollars?
I think somewhat we are, just to things we can bill for that we're not. Like you said, there's a lot to learn the coding, and nothing against how we do it now or who's doing it. It's just, I think we should look at it and see if we can get more.
So is that something that you provide, I guess? Do you, prior to us signing a commitment, is that something that you guys would do, come in and basically do an audit of our billing process?
If you want us to, sure. of
And
course
basically
you can.
say, and what does that look like? So I guess at the end of that
So basically,
audit,
what
do
we would
get?
do is, we would just ask for, say, around maybe 30 patient care reports. We would look at them and we would decide how we would bill them. And then, and this can all be done remotely, we don't have to do it on site. If you wanted to send us, 30 claims, we can look at 30 claims and see what that looks like to us. Were they billed, were they not billed, were they written off eventually? What does it look like to us?
What we may have missed.
Yeah, what you may have missed. I mean, because again, a lot of it has to do with those denials, right? So you bill it out, they deny it. They deny it a lot of times because they know you aren't going to fight it and you're not going to keep going after it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they deny it once, the chances are X amount of people never go after it, especially fire departments. They don't go after it. Then if they deny it twice, it just falls off the table completely. We don't stop. We continue to go after the insurance companies if we believe that insurance should have paid.
Scott, with the software we have, are we doing electronic billing or are we doing mail?
We're doing electronic, I believe.
I have another question. The level of EMS service we have a certain level because we don't have paramedics on board. So we can only bill to a certain level with the type of services we can offer.
So you're offering
Okay.
less.
With Medicaid and Medicare, there's certain levels that's what you get for that service.
Correct.
You can't go above and beyond, I can't remember the numbers, but.
It's about $223 a run plus about 5.76 a mile.
The other question I have along with that, with our kind of community, we have due diligence and we have great staff and everything, but I think a majority of our runs are Medicaid, Medicare. So my question is, when you don't have less private pay with the insurance, but more Medicaid, Medicare, how do you squeeze more, I'm not saying,
Sure.
sit down,
Yeah.
how do you get more money from the
Right.
Medicaid,
Well,
Medicare side?
Well, the important part about that is making sure that what you're billing, especially if you're billing to Medicare and Medicaid, is making sure it is compliant, okay? So having that certification of your billers, making sure that you're meeting all the Medicare and Medicaid standards. What we're going to do is we're going to work with you if indeed we get a PCR that maybe doesn't have some information on it that it should for Medicare standards. We're going to bring it back to you, and we're going PCR by PCR, and we're going to say, look, these are not billable runs. However, they can be corrected. Amendments can be made to the PCRs. We're going to get them back to you quickly so that you have the opportunity to do that. Your billers may currently be doing that. They may not be doing that based on your QA process as you go through. The biggest reason that we can give you more money is the Medicare Advantage plans, which are predominant in this area, are going to give you denials for whatever reason that they can. And we're going to go back and we're going to get that denial money. We're going to work the back end. The front end is pretty upfront when it comes to that. You know, it's an emergency run, as long as it's well documented. The biggest thing is making sure that it is well documented, making sure that you're compliant to Medicare. You never want to be non-compliant to Medicare, Medicaid. So, you know, we're going to be looking at every single run. We review every single run through coding to make sure that the paperwork is all there and that it's a billable claim.
So where are you guys based out of?
Fort Wayne, Ohio, which is just south of Dayton.
Okay.
It's basically in Dayton.
Yeah. So how do we get our information to you guys?
All of it's electronic. So basically, we're going to, we'll go out to, if it's ERS, we'll actually go to your ERS system and we'll get your patient care reports. We'll import them into our system. We'll enter the run completely into our system and create the run and bill it through our system. But it's all electronic.
So it's sort of like a live feed into our
Yes, right,
system.
right. Your site, your website becomes an FTP site that we can go out and get the claims.
Okay.
As you transition to ESO, since they were purchased, ERS was purchased by ESO. As you transition into ESO, there's actually an automated import where the PCR becomes electronic instead of an electronic piece of paper. It becomes an actual electronic document, and we can bring that in directly into our system, along with a copy of the PDF PCR itself, and then we can bill directly from that electronic data.
So we have John doing billing now, so John would still need to be, or somebody to be the guy that puts all this information in for him to gather.
The EMTs put their own run reports in and make it back.
John wouldn't be the guy, he wouldn't have to do that for each run.
No, he just goes in and does the billing off of it.
Okay.
Yeah, your supervisors, that quality assurance process would be the last step before we sell it.
Okay, thoughts, questions?
I would definitely be curious of seeing, especially like the audit to see, basically how are we doing currently, and then
See what everybody's
Yes,
returns.
that's what I would like to see
See
is,
what the-
is how's John doing? Can you show us some figures of,
well, can you justify the 8%?
yeah.
And it's a dollars and figures decision.
So you can do that, coordinate,
Yeah,
Absolutely. You bet.
I'll work with Jim and get
and
that.
make a decision.
Greatly appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a long drive.
Thanks for your time. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, boards and commissions. I do not see any notes on that. Council committee reports. Finance committee met 27th.
I was late on that, getting that to Cheryl. We met on the 27th. We discussed raises and the shift in health insurance coverage. I'm sure we'll get the minutes out to you after this, but it was the committee's decision to move forward with a 3% raise back to kind of how we were doing it prior to this last year. And then we'd also like to move the village coverage of insurance from a, was it 19.99% versus 80.01% split to a 15.85. So the village is going to absorb, well, we obviously still have to vote on this, but the committee's recommendation is to cover the 5% increase on insurance cost this year, and then that would shift the coverage split from a basically 80% to a 15.85. So it should be the employees should see a pretty healthy bump in their pay. Discussed a couple other things, talking about, obviously it's been discussed quite a bit here lately. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit, but starting to allocate some dollars towards planning for a future municipal building, and then obviously there's several park projects that have been talked about, so there, obviously no formal decision was made on any of that stuff, because we need to see budgeting come in, but some things that we need to start considering.
Any questions for Taylor?
I have a question. The 3% increase and then the, we'll say 5% decrease. What, to be fair across the board, what about how does the employees who do not take village insurance, how does that pan out for them? I mean, they still get their 3%. I know they get a yearly check, correct?
Which had a huge bump last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this will really benefit the people who do take the insurance as well.
Yeah. Well, it's making a transition into a better option for the village employees. That's been one of the complaints amongst the village employees, amongst many of the staff, is what our insurance costs.
Sure.
The employee specifically. So we're making a move to better that situation, and we've got an opportunity to do that this year, and then going back to the raise rate that we had previously done. So.
Any other questions? You have to bring legislation back, or do we?
The raise
Yeah.
part is already in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the first reading.
Oh, okay. So if there's any objection, we've got 2 more readings after tonight, so.
Correct.
Any other discussion on that?
85-15 is pretty good. Usually people are 80-20.
Okay,
80 to 20 currently.
Charlie, I see you had
Yeah,
notes or minutes for the ordinance committee.
yeah, we met a couple Wednesdays ago, mainly to discuss the annexation ordinance of 2018, where if we're providing utilities or have to extend utility lines outside of the village, they would have to annex in. And we discussed that it would be advantageous for most citizens because they're paying double sewer and water rates right now. And for the majority of the citizens, we thought it would be the cheaper option, even with a 1% income tax.
Okay,
So we,
discussion, questions? Thanks for meeting, so we don't have to act on it because it's already in, okay.
right.
Thanks.
We voted 3-0 to keep it.
Okay, any other questions?
Water sewer met real quick before tonight's meeting. Kent wanted to address, and Corey and Cheryl, High Street projects is pretty much coming to an end, but with the well field, the water tower, and the Defiance lift station, well field and water tower are coming into construction phase next year. But we wanted to push, the Defiance lift station is still in design phase with Choice 1. We're looking at moving that construction phase, not next year, but probably to 2023. With all the money out there, the grants and everything, we've got well field and water tower pretty much covered. But we want to make sure that we're not overspending this year with Defiance lift, which is another big project. So we had spoke a little bit about that, tried to move it out, and tried to find maybe some grants and things we can work with for 2023 construction. So I wanted to thank Kent and then Kevin, Kent, and Corey, and Cheryl for keeping those numbers up in front of us, for working on the grants and everything on these projects. So they're doing a great job doing that, keeping us compliant with our long-term control plan and everything else. And we'll discuss a little bit of personnel issues too. So, but I'll have a report for next meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Mike? Okay, thanks, Mike. Administrators report.
Can I please, Larry and Charlie, we need to have a streetlight personnel and property meeting about leasing some ground. So start thinking about that, and we'll touch bases on the email.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm
Okay,
done.
thanks. Administrator report, Corey.
We did receive our new 2022 F-450. One thing that we need to get done so yet is a communications radio. They did do the valve replacement on Friday. They did find that the old valve and a good portion of that line under there was encased in concrete. That's why you guys didn't get this report on Friday. I was waiting for that job to finish up. So that went over well. And then the pump down there at the sewer plant, although it will run, but it isn't performing the way it should. We're still trying to get, there's a suction issue with it. Parts were ordered today for that. And then the big thing is ODOT was in town and they changed the clearance signs over on the North Main Viaduct. That's now 13.6. And the stop sign as you're coming in from the west used to be stop unless turning right. There is no more turning right. Everything will be a complete stop now. And that's
State, that's what they
yeah,
want.
that's what the state did, yeah, they just
Okay.
removed that little sign that says unless turning right. They did install a stop ahead sign as well. That's down by 615 North Main. And then the commodities, for October 14th will be held at the garage here at City Hall, and they'll be held there every month from here on out. Loop Asphalt is hoping to start this Thursday. They've got a lot of milling and patching to do here in town. And then hopefully we'll have enough time to get some sidewalk repairs that are, some sidewalks that are owned by the village taken care of as well.
Okay.
Did the state, the state's a state, but did they ever come to the city and say that they were gonna do that to that sign? I've had one person say they drive that a lot and they're afraid somebody's gonna get hit because everybody's so used to turning right, you know, and not stopping. Now they think people are just gonna, you know, roll through. You see a stop sign, you should stop. I mean, but they're so used to not stopping when they're turning right. They have concerns, but does the state ever even address that with the, you know, you guys at a time? Maybe they forgot to put it back on the sign. I don't know, you know.
No. No, they never reached out. I didn't even know when they were coming to change the clearance signs. You know, it took them, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? So, yeah, they kind of just come and go as they please.
They don't have to get your permission
No.
in order to do it, but
I mean, when you have something that way for so long, people are gonna have to get used to it, and it's really hard. I mean, people are so used to turning right and not stopping. But I know during the construction phase, I saw some people saying that they were so used to not having people coming underneath viaduct, they just kept driving through.
blowing
They
right
never-
through it.
They could see ahead, didn't have to stop in anything, and that was an issue, so I just,
and that's something, and the chief's not here today, obviously, accidents aside, you don't want any accidents, but enforcement of that could be handled like we've done when there's been other changes or whatever, where, you know, maybe initially when it's new, if they see people rolling that or doing whatever, they can stop them and give them a friendly reminder or whatever, and then at some point say, hey, everybody's had long enough, and we're gonna have to, or if it becomes a real big problem, there's a bunch of accidents or something, then there'd be some discretion there with the officers as far as.
You don't think it would be to our advantage to contact the state and say, hey, this is how it was for the last 50 years, and we'd like to retain it that way?
You could contact them. My experience with them on the signage and the way things are handled is they pretty much have a pretty strict set of guidelines that probably just was never addressed recently or grandfathered in, and with the changes to the railroad, somebody got their sign book out or whatever and said, that can't be right, we can't do it that way. Some young guy, you know, that probably, you know,
Just gonna,
just following.
Desk and a pencil.
Just following the guidebook, it says, no, it's gotta be a stop sign, you can't turn right like that, take that sign down, so.
I think it would be worth appealing to the village. I mean, I think it's just gonna be an issue. I mean, or appealing to the state. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes,
just because
I think we should contact the
Just
state.
call them and see if there's a
Yeah.
reason they did it and why.
Because, I mean, you start getting, especially all those trucks that are coming in with from Waterloo with the towers on, you start backing them
Wait.
trucks up because each one has to pull up here and stop. It's not gonna be good.
I see Corey's making notes, so thanks.
how's the? I see you said budgeting's still in the works. How's that process coming on your first time?
Turn it in today.
All right. Learn a bunch.
Oh, it's nerve-wracking. But it was kind of fun trying to, like putting a puzzle together. We knew what the shortfall was and trying to come up with the money and picking Kent's brain over some things and challenging but fun.
Look forward to seeing it.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
The first question, I pretty much know the answer, is with Lori Adams. We've just kind of left her hanging. She's with Safe Routes to School, but that's pretty much all them, not much about us. But she's,
Just an update, I did see an email came out from the school. The school just sent a survey
Survey.
regarding the safe routes to school.
oh, I did not get that. Of course, I don't have kids in school, but.
Yeah.
So,
And our other one is we weren't very professional. We didn't tell Kirsten Wilson, who did the sewer plant energy audit, or who wants to. We've left her hanging. Where we at with her?
That was more on the funding, wasn't it, for the audit, right?
They wanted $22,000 to
Yeah.
do the entire town.
Right.
And that's, I mean, we haven't said yes, no, boo, go away.
Has the committee?
Well, I thought we said we'd wait till next year for
That's what I
the
thought we
funding
said.
too.
And I talked to Corey, I can't remember if I talked to Kent,
I
and I
remember.
talked to Jesse, and I talked to Jeff about that audit. It's mostly their buildings. I know the
Lighting.
pool's going through, a leak right now, a liner, different things like that with pumps. But I said if that's something they think they can use and utilize, I mean, if we're changing anything, I can't see of changing major pumps here this next couple of years with the money we're spending. But if that's something that we could, if they would utilize that information, keep it, retain it for future use with pumps, and then projects change and scope of things, would they utilize it? I mean, spending $22,000 and using it for their buildings, They had said to me, when a pump needs changed and or updated, they usually try to get with the manufacturers and get the most newest pump, least energy, kind of thing. So if that was something that they would use, I could see it happening, but
I thought we had made the decision to move forward with the lighting audit, because that was going to be free of charge. We're gonna see how that went. Maybe I'm mistaken
I
there,
think
but
you're right, Taylor.
I thought we had said that let's move
If
forward with lighting.
if we did, Taylor, we probably should enlighten her.
I would agree. We should let them know of our decision.
I thought it was a full audit for 22.
The only reason I'm asking this is because I get emails from those two, just kind of, wondering where we're at on things, and it's not for me to answer.
Did the committee make a recommendation? I don't remember.
well, we all kind of liked the idea of doing it.
We wanted to do an audit, the committee wanted to do an audit, but
Okay.
Cheryl said we don't have $22,000.
Added to the 25,000 that you're just gonna buy a piece of land with, that's a whole chunk out of,
You didn't even
Sure.
know about the 25 when we
I know
had
about
the
it now.
22.
and that's a big chunk out of the sewer.
I was under the impression that we were gonna move forward with lighting, see how that went, and then if we wanted to move, if we thought that went well, then we were going to budget for that in 2022.
For next year.
Yes.
Thought
They
that's
did
where
come
we-
through and do the lighting audit, but I have never seen
that company just
Yeah, I've
did
seen
the
that.
law.
energy optimizers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took them through, gosh, a few days after she was here. Took them through all the buildings.
So they haven't provided any
No.
summary or anything.
So what's the wishes of the council? Because
Well, it sounds
budgeting's
like-
coming up now, so now's when you have to budget it.
Well, we
Sounds like-
better have this guy get a hold of her.
Figure out what
did
she
the
came out the
lighting
first
then
audit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
All right.
Can you do that, and maybe she can even come back and do a follow-up with us?
Shoot her an email.
Sound
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm on board with that.
Thanks for bringing that up, because I don't like to have people hang.
No, it makes us look bad as a group,
I guess, did we really make a decision? I'm not.
You did.
Well, I'm not familiar with the safe routes to school process. We made a decision that we'd like to pursue that, but what beyond that is our responsibility?
Was there engineering costs?
Yeah, we had to pay for engineering.
But the school had to do something prior to that, right?
They have to do the grant.
The entire thing really lays with them. It kind of starts here, but it kind of lays with them, and they did everything on the last, is that correct, Ken?
We we had a big meeting, school,
Yeah.
village officials.
If they're doing their traffic, is not the right word,
Their study.
study, at some point, their committee, whatever committee the village is gonna have.
And that's it, Mr. Countryman has to gather that committee.
You know, we'll meet with Lori and then take minutes and all that stuff to
Mhm.
show that there's been public input. But I think the applications are due like January, February.
Right, February.
For next. They
Yep.
get put in 2022, so.
There again, Cory, can you touch bases with Mr. Countryman at the school and see, he might be way ahead of everything, and just hasn't alerted us to it, but find out where he's at with it, and then let Lori know that, we haven't abandoned her, that we're kind of in the dark where we're at.
They just sent the survey out on Wednesday, so it's been about 6 days now, 5 days. So, I don't know when it's due.
I don't even think from what part of that I read that we can even really be influential on what we would like to do. I mean, we had talked, the committee had talked about doing some sidewalk down by the hospital but I don't think that the village can even make,
And I'm sure Keith will reach out.
Oh, yes,
That's
yes.
not a problem.
yes.
Okay, so we're square on that?
Yep.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ron. Anything else for Cory?
Well, not Corey, unless he's a cat department. I've had 2 residents reach out here recently. They've had cat issues again. I mean, we've had cat issues in this town.
Assistant cat department.
The cat issue's back, and I told him I would address
The
it
C
at
word.
due diligence, but he actually has pictures the cats are getting on his roof. I've never seen, wild cats, and they're tearing up some kids' equipment, trampolines in the back, and he said, is there anything the city can do to help curtail this cat population? He said he knows a couple of the cats are his neighbor's cats, but they just leave them outside. And I think we've addressed that with the chief and different things where if you start collecting the cats, I know the Humane Shelter has a program where, if the individual catches them, takes them to the shelter, they get spayed or neutered, they pick them up, they bring them back, right? That's a lot to ask for town residents to go do that. I didn't know if there was another way we can address this or should address this. I have to bring it up. I was asked to, so that's what I'm doing. I mean, I noticed I think there's other cat issues in town, but you can't, some people have pet cats and they let them out and they come home. And there's the feral cats that run around and everything, but I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if we could do something. I think I've heard Auburn has a program where the city actually helps collect the cats. They get them spayed or neutered and then they re-release them, but it's supposed to curtail the population that way.
Then you have a safety issue to cat attacking them.
Yeah, but I think
Cat
they actually pick
relocation
it up
program.
if,
They gotta change their name and everything, don't they?
You got a workers' comp case due to a cat.
Yeah.
Pearl.
If you want to get a cat trapping business in
Buy them Kevlar clothes and.
But you check out, there's some restaurants, I think, that have them.
Serve them?
It's carry out only. You can't go inside.
Cat Rangoon.
But I've heard other people, not complain, but have issues with stray cats in around the city. I think a lot of cities are having the same problem.
Everywhere.
Yeah. But if you don't do anything, if you try not to curtail a little bit, it just keeps growing and growing and growing, becomes a bigger situation. So you want to start a cat committee? Special sub.
What's defined?
It's gotta be an acronym for that.
There's
They've
been,
had the same problems there, and they've discussed them.
I've seen some activity and
They've been discussing it or whatever, is the same thing. The council's been bringing the issue up, and I think the conclusion's reached. Basically, what's been reached here is I think they even got some input from some local veterinarians as to, basically, I think the people would say, they won't say it on the record, but the most humane thing would be to euthanize, the feral cats and stuff like that, but then other people would come back and push back against that, so, there's
It's a no-win.
There's not really much you can do about it. I mean, you could theoretically prosecute people that were feeding stray, because there are people obviously set food out for them or whatever, and they start to gather, and then more of them show up in a neighborhood, and you could do all that.
then you have to
There's
prove
nothing
that.
you can, I mean, you're just spitting in the wind at that point or whatever, and making some people angry, and you're not really accomplishing anything. I mean, it's a bad problem. It's a problem all over, not just around here, all over the country. Except for maybe those locations where they have some wild animals that are running that take care of that
Coyotes.
thin it out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's only, they got spay and neuter programs, but like you said, Mike, that requires substantial effort on the part of people to, you know, take advantage of and to go take them and get that service done. And
But I'm being honest, I did it with one cat, and I went out to our local vet, and I was like, and they have done it at the shelter, and I was like, the cost difference and everything, I said, I'll just pay the money, because I knew whose cat it was. I said, but it was outdoor. It was cheaper and less time consuming for me to just take it to the local vet, have it done, and take it back. And
Yeah.
it was quicker too, you know, it was a
Right.
day process.
Right.
Whereas, you know, you go to Defiance, it's a certain day and different time. I just thought if there was a program, you could start with a vet, you know, and we're able to do that and work out a deal where you could keep them more local and not have to transport them so far and then go back and pick them up, kind of thing.
She does an awful lot of that stuff
She
down
does.
there for
She-
free.
Karen does
she's the
I
one
pay.
that does it at the.
Right, Karen does a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, she really works hard to help with the animals' quality and care and stuff, so. I don't know.
So much like every time we talk about cats, here we are, done, nothing solved.
So what's the solution? Anybody
There is none.
think about it?
What if the homeowner would hire somebody for pet control on their own with their own money? Can they do that?
I mean, they can't run afoul of the law, so, I mean, there's certain things you can and you can't do, and, I mean, you can't openly kill them, and
Well, I mean, you know,
there are laws about trapping, we talked about it, is you can trap them, but they're supposed to be released on your own property. You can't trap them and then take them out in the country, or take them over to Ron's house and release them or whatever, so, I mean, some of those rules are not effective at dealing with the problem. I mean, you could trap them and take them and get them spayed or neutered and bring them back and put them back on your property again. I mean, it works for that, but it doesn't work for getting rid of them.
Okay, anybody got any good ideas? Public, let us know. Okay, let's see, we're on the administrator's report, right? Is that where we're at? Anything else before? Solicitor's report, Troy?
First thing I have is third reading ordinance 2021-13.
Entertain a motion for that third, no, yeah, final reading?
I make motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mark?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Clifford?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ridgway?
Yes.
Next is ordinance 2021-15, a first reading by caption only, an ordinance establishing pay ranges for village employees. That's what was talked about earlier in the first reading. And then resolution 2021-23, a second reading by caption only, a resolution of the village of Hicksville to sell lot 55 Edmunds first edition to the village of Hicksville. That's the property down on North Main, so that we can do the auction.
Any
The
questions?
other two properties that we've been dealing with lately, the auction property, I got Bruce squared away on the easement portion of it, but then it turned out that the buyers had a third person that was involved with the husband and wife, another family member, so he had to make some changes in order to be able to, and Kent may recall, we talked about it, I think that person lives out of state, as I recall, and so they were getting signatures and stuff, and then once they get that to me, I'll send that off for the proper paperwork to be done on the property that we're buying that was approved at the special meeting. Kent dropped that off, the paperwork, all the signed paperwork at my office late last week, and I forwarded that on today, so hopefully that'll be fairly quickly. Obviously, that's the equivalent of a quote cash transaction, so it shouldn't take any time. The other one may take a little longer because there's a bank involved and financing and stuff, but we gotta get the paperwork the way it needs to be before that process can start, both on our end as well as their end.
Did we have any closing timeline requirements on that?
Not on the auction one. On the one we're buying, I think we put like a 45 to 60, I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but yeah. The other one,
There was no.
within a reasonable time or
Okay,
whatever, but
yeah.
yeah, there's no specific date asked.
I don't know if we had to basically bring anything to
Yeah.
extend the timeline.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it, Troy?
Yes.
Any questions for our solicitor? Okay, department heads. Chief is not here. He called me earlier. Fire and EMS chief, Scott.
I received news last week that Austin, one of our full-times, is leaving. He will stay on and help out part-time when he can. With that vacancy, I'd like to move Hannah, our other part-time, to a full-time position.
What was the name again?
Hannah Kirkman going to full-time.
Haley?
Hannah.
Hannah.
Anna Kirkland.
Kirkman?
Kirkland.
Man.
Kirkman.
Kirkman, okay, I just want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
So you're going to do a recommendation. I'm going to recommend go to full-time.
I'll accept the mayor's recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Roll call.
Barth,
Yes.
Klepper,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Ridgway.
Yes. Well, you want to have it after we go to executive session for personnel after this? Can we do that?
Executive session, we'll do at the end,
Yes.
but you can't have a meeting.
Oh, no, we can do
No.
that later, but I want to talk to Scott anyhow about personnel.
Okay, yeah, you can stick around. Okay.
How many?
You have to have
EMTs
24
there?
hours
4.
Well,
on
this,
the calendar.
oh, well, this
No.
no, yeah, for that, yes, but I'd
6
like to
with
go on
first
executive
responders.
for the personnel.
6 counting a first responder? How are they keeping everything covered?
It's not easy.
Okay, you have anything else then?
No.
You got,
And you said something about Scipio is not going to
Not
happen.
gonna happen.
okay. Any questions for Scott?
Have we, as, I know when we got the new ambulance, we had talked, one of the big things, we were gonna be able to do like more transfers. Has any of that come to fruition?
With lost personnel, we do it when we can, but we have to make sure we have coverage in the village as well.
Okay.
We sold that third ambulance yet?
Not yet.
We're gonna though, right?
Yes,
Okay. Soon.
yes.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Chief. Park Director, you're finally up.
Park.
Mr. Lawrence, right?
Just roll.
Mr. Lawrence, you've got the podium.
All right. At our most recent meeting, which was last week, we discussed our budget hopes and dreams going forward. There are some projects that are on the horizon that we'd like to accomplish. One of the big things that's coming right now is going to be pool repairs. We are in need of a new liner for the pool. It will not be cheap. So that is one of the things that is in our budget request going forward on that. I will say about the liner, we've been very fortunate. The liner that we've had that needs replacing has been in service for something like 30 years. That's pretty incredible. So if we can hope and pray that we could get use out of the next one in that regard, we're hoping that will transfer going forward and make
You have
it
an
more
idea on
worthwhile.
cost? How much?
53,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fact that we got a lot of years out of the last one, hopefully that'll move forward with that cost and help spread that out. But if we intend to keep moving forward with the pool and making that I think it's a great quality of life benefit for the community. It will require investment moving forward if we're going to plan to keep it that way. We also are in the process of looking at replacing some fencing for some of the fields on the softball side of the park, pursuing different ways to pay for that, talking to the county about that as well, since that side is their land. So we do have estimates in for some of that, and we have been going through those. Maybe Mike and Corey, you can help me out, that the estimates for fencing, a lot of that, $25,000 for one of the projects. And this is also something, a lot of it wouldn't have to all be done right away. There are specific areas that need it more desperately. Field 4, which is on the northwest side of the park, is going to be probably the priority when it comes to replacing fencing for the fields. And then moving down to the backstop area on Field 3, we are looking at updating the fencing around some of the batting cages, the one that's up by the Little League fields, as well as the one that's attached to the current varsity softball field that the high school uses. We are kind of looking at how that's going to work. That's not an immediate thing, but we're also waiting to hear from the Baseball Association about how they would like to proceed with that. There's been some discussion about moving the batting cage that's up there. We don't want to put new fencing around it and then move it next year. So we're trying to be prudent with that and make sure that we're doing it the best way possible. Any questions?
Has there been any further discussion about the new field construction?
There was no discussion about that at our most recent meeting. We've been waiting to hear back from HBA about that, and we have invited them to some meetings, but we're kind of just waiting to hear where they're at and what their hopes and dreams are. We did recently have the Softball Association in to a meeting to kind of hear what they envision down there. I know you've heard about some of that before already. So all those things are kind of in play. We're continuing to discuss them, and we're just waiting for more solid information before we can kind of make sure that we get all our ducks in a row.
Good.
Then in regards to the pool, is patching it for another year an option, or is it basically shut down or get a new liner?
Well, they patched it last year. They spent, what, $1,000?
I don't
Like
know what the
1,300.
cost was, but
Yeah. And they have some areas where they know it's just due to some of the equipment that's in the pool, that's where it kind of gets warped easier. And we have asked at the thing, I said, well, if you need to change that piece of apparatus or whatever, maybe go out and try to find a different type of, it kind of hits the pool liner and that's where it kind of leaks. I said, well, if you can change that, we can, get by a couple of years without replacing the liner. It just seems like every year we ever got a pump going out, there's a line leak somewhere, we've had water issues, and now the liner. I mean, that long for a liner
And I understand that, but is it an option to patch it this year? Or is it, it has to be replaced or it's shutting down?
No, we can.
Is that where we're at?
I had to ask Val and Gary, I said, can we patch it again? And they said, yes, we can get by another year or so. But
Yeah,
we have to do
it's-
some upgrades too.
it's just on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's something that's going to have to be done.
Yeah.
And I get, everybody's eyes got big when the estimate hit the table.
Yeah.
And so we understand that it's a lot, but it's also something that, that's why we're talking about it now, so
Right.
we
Yep.
can do something about it. And
The other issue with getting quotes on that thing is if they didn't install it, they don't want to surface it.
Yeah.
If it's not their pool and their manufacturer, they don't want to take the risk of, the warranty on a liner, because that can get very expensive if you put a liner in, you find you have a problem and it's there on them. I mean, that's big bucks. And they did find a company in Indianapolis that would do the liner, but they've only ever found one company that would even approach them with getting a
The
quote.
company that put that liner in, and they put it in, and then it was like a year or two at the most later, that was losing so much water. And so they hired me to fix it, and we took the liner out, and then we took the backhoe down in the pool and dug that back. And then that liner went
Back
They
in.
just rolled it back.
Sure.
And the company that put it in did, and then they came and rolled it back in, so that getting over 30 years out of something that's been in and out twice, that's
It's
saying
minor.
something, yeah. But I'm with Taylor, Patch, we've talked forever about a new pool. We need to, I know there's no money anywhere, but we need to really look at doing that again.
Something needs done.
Yes.
To- I think spending $53,000 to maintain the same pool, I don't know if that's the wisest decision. I think there's other options that can boost the quality of life for
Yeah.
Hicksville that need to be investigated.
So who decides if it's a new line or not? Council or park? I guess.
I think we have to approve the budget.
Right. If they put in the budget, then we have a final say, but
I do believe that the cost of the liner was put into the pool budget for this year by us, and obviously it goes to you guys, and you have the say on that. Corey, you look like you want to jump in here.
No, I think, what, over 50,000, we have to put it out for bid.
Yep.
So,
probably won't get that many bids, but legal, good point.
no.
Might not even get any.
You what?
Might not even get any. Pool people prefer to install instead of repair.
Whatever we do, I like to see the pool open to the point where
Yes.
even if we do a new pool and a new water splash pad or something, a lot of kids use that pool. I mean, they said anywhere from 80 to 100 a day, go down at different times and utilize it. I never want to go, it might be a time period where you don't have a pool, but I think it's an asset for our community.
Definitely.
You know, if
Okay.
we were not talking about other options, I mean, I would put the liner in, you know, and roll with it, but I can see the point of keeping it patched and up, and, you know, if we lose a little water, I understand that, so.
Is that something that you could take back to the park board, maybe figure out a way to engage the community as far as, and get their thoughts and feelings? Basically on whether they would prefer something different, or
Or would you rather
Yes.
run for president?
Well, you know, yes, I do think that we could do that.
I think we all know what the answer is going to be.
Can you send me an email at school, and I got some info that I would share with you that maybe we can kind of toss some ideas before I take that back. Our next meeting's coming up in like 2 weeks.
Perfect.
That'd be good electronically, you won't have to smoke in that back room. It won't be a smoky back room decision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before, I guess, can I get your email? Do you want to give it out publicly, or?
it's fine. You can find it on the school website. Lawrence, LAWRENCEA @hicksvilleschools.org. Anybody that wants it can find it.
Send your prank email.
Send all email to.
Okay, does the liner need to be installed this fall yet? Can it wait till spring? I mean, it's got
I
to be
don't know the
financed.
answer to that question. That would be a Gary Val question.
Does it have water during the winter?
No,
It's not completely dry.
So that's not a
It's
great,
not.
don't have to have water on it. So I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know the
But it's got to be decided by next month because of the budgeting.
Correct.
Right.
I would say it's a springtime thing because it's glued in. They
Okay,
bring big grinders in and or this is what they did when they raised the
Okay.
liner. Grind that all out, then re-glue it, put it back in. So it's gonna have to be fair weather.
okay, any other questions, park related?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lawrence. Okay, fiscal officer Cheryl.
You have your fund status report if you have any questions on that. The September utility and income tax collections. Income tax didn't have a good month.
Yeah.
September revolving loan report, since we've got, I think, 2 of them paid off this year so far, we're not bringing in much per month. And we're getting a chunk to be able to loan people if anybody needs a loan. You got the 2020 official census proclamation. You have a copy, not all the pages, but the pertinent pages to the ODOT legislation about the paving they're going to come and do next year. The auditor of state has sent out an advisory memo about fuel purchases. And when you get to the one with the flu shot guys on it, I need your approval to let the pharmacy give flu shots to employees
We
this
do that every
year.
right?
Yeah. But you have to vote every year,
Do
so
you need a motion on that?
I do.
Make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Beverly?
Yes.
Ridgway?
Yep.
Martin?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
Flipper?
Yes.
And the last page is one that's strictly me. I take all the credit for it. The problem that we have is you could talk to someone and explain something to them, and if you don't have it in writing, you don't know what actually they heard you say. So this separates, this is going to make my life much simpler next year if we have it in writing, if you all agree, and you don't have to say anything tonight. But I would like a vote on this sometime where I have it, everyone knows what they're supposed to do, who answers to who, and it's in black and white and writing. Because we've said it, but some people just are not listening.
Why are you looking at me?
Only because you're right across from me.
She was looking at me.
He's gonna be long
Oh.
gone. Larry's gonna be long gone.
So anyway, that is just, if you would please make my life simpler next year, and the mayor's. You won't have to have so
Anybody got
many
any
meetings.
comments? Any
And
questions?
changes are, you can make comments and,
But I
Write
met with
notes
the
on it.
park board and we had a little fiasco there about 3-4 months ago and kind of went through this, but now it's in writing, like
yeah.
you said.
And
everybody
it's simple
knows.
and they can understand, hopefully.
Thanks, Cheryl. Any comments even afterwards if you want to look it over?
Good idea.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, any questions for the solicitor? Cheryl, the fiscal officer. Thank you.
I have a quick question, 'cause me and Cheryl talked about it on the phone, but just maybe for anybody and everybody, about Facebook pages, right? And who can have them, who can't. The park board was talking about doing not a comment type Facebook page, but a picture-based Facebook page with showing events, or events happening, or if something got fixed or done like that. But I know with sunshine laws and regulations, Cheryl was enlightening me on what can and cannot happen along with Facebook. I know like our police department has a Facebook, but that's kind of governed by an agency, correct me if I'm wrong, that oversees any liability or information that can't be divulged on Facebook. HIX-TV has Facebook, right? But they do,
They have
or they don't.
YouTube.
YouTube, right? We have Facebook also. Uh-oh, Cheryl's like,
Do you know Facebook's down worldwide?
no, I didn't
Let's
know.
back up.
Well-
I just got a message. to say
Did ya?
back up.
Yeah, it's back up now. But they were addressing, if they could post, not, like I said, pictures and stuff like that, and events and different things, where I can't have I don't know a lot about the Facebook, but people can't comment on it.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
big
one-
issue on those is you gotta turn the comments off, because one, you don't want it to turn into, political hate mail. The big thing is you can't exclude people, and otherwise you violate some of the Public Records Acts. And every time when I go down to the municipal attorney's meeting and they got people that come and talk about just what seems like silly scenarios, there's always a discussion about somebody had a public records violation because, something got deleted off their Facebook page, or they deleted comments off or something like that, and as no, that violates the terms of the public record law. So most places have limited the number of Facebook pages that a municipality or a county or whatever can have. Other than, like I say, the police department one is a little different because it's informational, and so they turn off the comments. But for instance, I don't know, if there's a string of thefts in the village here or whatever, and they got a video and nobody knows who it is, and they want to throw it up there and say, if anybody knows who these people are, contact the Hicksville Police Department or whatever. You know, it gets used for that purpose, or, you know, if they want to remind people of the open burning law, you know, when the spring rolls around and people start having recreational fires and things like that, they can do that. But again, you know, they can't, they got somebody that oversees all that or whatever, so they're not deleting any post. If anybody ever says, hey, whatever, it's all
Archived.
in the archived, yeah. And that's a big thing, the archive people. I think there's even a company that's like Archive Social or something, and they deal with, you know, it really gets technical because sometimes if the mayor had a personal Facebook page and he posted anything on it public related, like public business or whatever, they could theoretically say that that's a public record because he's a public official and he made no different than cell phones. You know, if you use your personal cell phone for public business or whatever, you can say that that's a public record. You need to maintain copies of it and everything. And so it gets nightmarish if there's an issue. That's the big thing.
I don't do Facebook, so I'm saying.
I was just using that as an example, but
I got burned a couple times on it, so
And Dawn will put any pictures on. She'll even go take the pictures to put on the website for anything.
So is that, our municipalities are looking more into the Facebook post and who's on it, and you got subcommittees, you know, you got different.
I mean, they pretty much,
associations.
when I was at the meetings, they pretty much have limited it to certain, I mean, they haven't let they haven't let the fire department, the police department, the park board, you know, they don't have 12 village or city Facebook pages out there. Nor do they want to have that many people that got their hands on making posts and doing things and everything, so they try to limit them. And the ones that are bigger that do want to use those type of things, they've spent the money and paid for one of these like archive companies that basically tell you, you know, here's what you need to do, here's how you set it up, and then we'll do this and we'll keep and archive all the posts and everything. And if, you know, somebody comes forward and says, hey, there was a post back 9 months ago on such and such that talked about this, I want a copy of it, you tell them and they pull off the copy and print it or whatever, and you can respond to public records requests, because you get one of those from the people that go out there and just make them for the sake of seeing if you'll respond to them or not. And, you know, there's all types of civil penalties and fines and everything, and, you know, that's kind of a cottage industry with some people. They just go and test the public records retention for people. So the ones that have actively engaged in it, they've spent the money, because there is potential value there like anything else. I mean, Cheryl always mentions the Facebook page. I bet if you have a counter on there, the number of people that go, or the village webpage is minimal compared to the number of people that would follow a Village of Hicksville Facebook page.
Right.
And the traffic that would see a post on the Facebook page would be enormous compared to what's on the homepage.
Correct.
Enormous. So,
Okay. Any more questions? Cheryl, I guess. Mayor's report, the only thing I have is Columbus Day is next Monday. The offices will be closed the 11th. Even though Columbus Day is on the 12th, the offices will be closed. That's one of the 2 holidays we added for the employees last year. Anybody got any questions for me?
No, but I should say, we should have a reminder out there for the recycling pickups. It's divided in town,
Yeah.
because everybody had them out. And I'm sure they'll probably do it again.
Let's see, I think that's all I had. Yeah, the census report, you see we're down, what, 150 or so from 10 years ago. So I was a little disappointed in that number, but
You guys can ask the kids.
I'm doing my part.
yeah, so
I have moved back into the village and added.
Good job.
I understand some.
Yeah, I'd like to go into executive session about personnel, please, with the fire chief.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Beverly?
Yep.
Barth?
Yes.
Klepper?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ridgway?
Yes.
Okay.